How do you know that you have found the person that you want to be with forever and ever and ever until death do you part, right? What does our society kind of always say about that? How do you know that this is your person? You just know, right? You just know. Have you ever thought about what the heck that means and what a disservice we're doing to each other with that kind of messaging, whether it's in a romantic comedy or even, I gotta say, I have been teaching marriage and family for several years now, pretty much every semester. And when I talk about this with my students, because I've been married, it'll be 20 years this year. How did I know that my husband was the person I wanted to be with forever? I just knew. I like if I really think about it, it's that as the time that we were spending together, telling each other all the stories, getting to know each other, hearing about how we grew up and all these different things, I picked up on the fact that he had never done anything wrong in his entire life. Like he wasn't an amazing student, but he was always a good student. He always showed up. He was always on time. He always worked hard and tried his best. He just was good. The other thing that really stood out to me was when he talked about his mom, like he really lit up. Not, I guess we have these kind of like elements of paranoia with when people like are really close to their parents, but it was in a way in which um, it just, you could tell how kind and loving he was. And those were the things that I really realized early on were amazing. But that good thing, man, he was just good. And at the age I met him, like college age, I was not good. I was not making good decisions all the way around. So this idea, like, I can say to you, well, I just knew. Or I could be reflective and clear and dig in, all those critical thinking aspects, and really try to suss out, like, what was it? What were the details? What were the things that I analyzed or really paid attention to? So with that said, I am asking you this week in a discussion board to imagine if you were getting married right away, and what are the lists of things that the attributes, the characteristics, the interests that you just absolutely have to have in your future forever and ever and ever person. Granted, right? Because that's the way we socialize ourselves. So, of course, we have to have these massively significant long-term, if not lifetime relationships, right? So an inordinate amount of pressure. But what are the things that this person absolutely must have? And then what are the things that if they have this attribute, this characteristic, this interest, whatever it is, what what would it be that you would say, I'm sorry, I cannot be with you, right? So that's really, really serious. Now, as you write your list, and it's hard for me because I've done this activity in person with students many times, and I don't want to start to give stuff away because I've seen themes that happen. Um, as you write your list and you write your must-haves and then you write your deal breakers, I want you to go back after that and think through, well, wait a second. If a person has all of the must-haves or most of the must-haves, or is hitting just the must-have, like they are a must-have factory. They've got so many of them. What deal breakers remain deal breakers? Because sometimes people will write on the deal breaker list. I'll have students map this all out on boards if we're together in a classroom. They'll write things on a deal breaker list like, honestly, a lot of times, I see, I feel bad. I'm like going to give this stuff away. Um, I got to give one away. Like, for instance, teeth. Quite honestly, it's amazing to me how often teeth, like teeth in your mouth, get mentioned. So it'll be like a must or a deal breaker, rather, that if somebody has bad teeth. Well, let us say that this person has all these amazing qualities that you've always wanted, and their teeth are not necessarily awesome. Is that still a deal breaker? Like you would call off this relationship? So I want you to analyze your own deal breakers after you write the list. Although I've probably now just totally messed up like your thought process, because if you listen to this before you do the must-haves and deal breakers activity, you'll be um, kind of already thinking through this. So I'll need to be quiet about that. But what I want you to do is think about, have you thought about, have you articulated for yourself what you want in a person and what you cannot tolerate for whatever reason it may be? So I think a lot of times this is a moment where we can take an academic lens, our critical thinking skills, and apply it to something very deeply personal. So relationships start somewhere and they have these various components. And so I want to share two theories with you. The first one is Reese's wheel theory of love. And this is one theory of how kind of relationships start to develop. The first aspect of this is rapport. And so rapport is feeling at ease with one another, that you are laughing a lot together, that you are just somebody that you want to be talking to and you really enjoy talking to, and you kind of have similarities or similar interest or whatever it may be that gets you really kind of initially connected. Next is self-revelation, and that's when each partner exposes who I am. I actually just referred to that with my own, relationship with my husband. The idea that we spent those nights together just talking and talking and talking and talking and hearing about, how we grew up and stuff, that the stories of who we are. So that's self-revelation, when you start to really explain, these are the details, the important ones and the little ones and everything else that make up who I am. Next is mutual dependency. And that's when, got a little ahead as far as the clicking on the PowerPoint. Okay. So mutual dependency is when you begin to um, count on hearing from each other. You're counting on being a part of each other's lives in some component. So some way rather. You are texting each other, let's say, all the time. I tell my students that I just do not envy people who are starting new relationships now in 2019 with all of this texting. I pretty much kind of want to say a bad word, but I won't. Navigating how to communicate with each other. I was even joking, like, on iPhones and stuff, when you get the three blinking dots that somebody's typing, like, I can't imagine having to watch it and wondering, like, what are they going to say? And oh my goodness, like, sense of humor, like my sarcastic sense of humor that I have, that doesn't always translate very well via the written word. And so, like, thinking through all the pressure of this. But with mutual dependency, let's say that, not only are you talking a fair amount when you see each other, maybe because you've met each other at work or through school, but kind of you're counting on hearing from each other throughout the day, and or the frequency with which you see each other. That's the kind of thing that you're depending on, that mutual dependency. And then finally, the last is intimacy need fulfillment. And this is when you have hit it off, you've gotten to know each other, you're counting on being a part of each other's lives in some component. And intimacy need fulfillment means, like, it's the moment of declaration per se about, we're going to be in a relationship together. I want to be girlfriend and girlfriend with you, boyfriend and boyfriend and girlfriend. I want to have some meaningful connection with you that is defined, right? So I've decided that this meets my needs, and I want to proceed in a formal way with you, I guess, because we have these labels, right, of being in a relationship. And so kind of really determining the fact that you want to proceed in that. Okay, so that's Reese's wheel theory of love. I want to explain the fact that it's a wheel, because when you think about a wheel spinning faster and faster, that idea of momentum, the building of momentum in a relationship. Okay, next is Sternberg's triangular theory of love. And so there's lots of words here, right? And I'm going to walk you through it. Liking at the very top basically means really, really close friendship. Being really bonded and have warmth. It's kind of the rapport that we were just talking about with Reese's wheel theory. The word intimacy is there. A lot of times, intimacy is utilized as an aspect of physicality, like being physically attracted to each other. In this case, intimacy just means closeness. It does not mean physical attraction. Physical attraction, rather, is in the left-hand point of the triangle with infatuation. That's where you are really, really physically attracted to each other. On the right-hand point of the triangle is empty love, where you have commitment. It's called empty love if all you have is commitment. But in the middle, you can see consummate love, the ultimate love, according to Sternberg, is when you have this deep, deep friendship, intimacy, and you have this attraction to each other, passion, and then you're very committed to each other, commitment. That's the definition for Sternberg of consummate love, meaning the ultimate love. Now, on the sides of the triangle, you can see other combinations. So you have romantic love, where you have attraction to each other and you're close friends, but you don't have commitment, right? So this sometimes, I guess, I mean, I'm trying to think for how long has it been kind of this term, but this term friends with benefits, right? That idea that you are close friends and you are physically enacting some aspect of your relationship, but you don't have the commitment of a relationship. So that's romantic love. Companionate love is on the other side, where you're a really, really close friendship and you're really, really committed to being parts of each other's lives, but you're not physically attracted to each other. So that's companionate love. And then finally on the bottom, fatuous love. That's kind of in some ways the hardest to understand, I suppose, because wait a second, you're attracted to each other and you're committed to each other, but you're not, like, you don't have that friendship kind of established, because that is not usually how we see relationships forming. But when you think about it, that kind of love at first sight, whirlwind courtship, and not really, like, the people that meet each other and are married a month later, that kind of thing, where you just have all this attraction and everything else, but you just haven't had that time to develop the intimacy. I mean, you could be spending a ton of time together, but just by the sheer, dates on the calendar, you haven't really gotten the opportunity to invest in the relationship in a way that you would in a few months or a few years or years on end. So again, this is just another theory of looking at the way that relationships function. There's many of them, but I wanted to share these two with you because I think that they do a great job of taking a look at, again, what we already know. We certainly know how relationships start, but now we can kind of step back and look at a couple of aspects of academia explaining relationships and think through, where did we get the ideas that we have for the relationships that we have? And most importantly, depending on, because people who take college classes are at all different ages and stages in life, like thinking about what your age and stage is, whether it's been that you've been in a relationship for many years or you're waiting and wanting to be in a relationship for many years, that this is an opportunity for you to think through, how do I, develop and value rapport or mutual dependency or, intimacy and commitment and all of these different things. So hopefully this gives you a lot to think about.